Welcome to the dark. I collect stories people don't want to tell. Some are real. Some should have stayed hidden.
So, what if I told you that you could physically buy back your lost childhood teddy bear?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But the price tag for that was the literal memory of your mother's face.
That is just, that's a brutal concept.
Right. Or, what if the exact moment you gave up your biggest lifelong dream was currently bottled in cold glass, just sitting in a refrigerated aisle next to the diet soda, basically just waiting for you to pick it up?
Right next to the Sprite.
Exactly. So today we are diving into an economy where your soul is the literal currency, and your deepest, darkest regrets are just, inventory waiting to be cleared out.
It's such a fascinating deep dive.
It really is. I want you, the listener, to picture this. It is 2:50 in the morning. You are driving down an old 2-lane highway.
The worst time to be driving, honestly.
Oh, absolutely. You've been on the road for hours. It's that very specific kind of drive where the hum of the tires becomes this hypnotic drone, and the darkness outside feels completely absolute.
You're just totally zoned out.
Yeah. Yeah, you are fighting a thick, rolling fog that just swallows your headlights before they can even hit the asphalt. Your eyes are heavy. Your coffee went cold like 3 counties ago.
We've all been there.
We really have. And all you want is a brightly lit place to pull over, stretch your legs, and grab some water. And then, cutting through that impenetrable fog, you see it.
The oasis.
The oasis. The unmistakable fluorescent glow of a perfectly normal neon green supermarket sign.
A completely ordinary sight.
Exactly. You pull in, the tires crunching on the pavement, you step through those automatic sliding doors, and you grab a shopping cart. But you are completely unaware that whatever you put in that cart is going to cost you literal pieces of your own identity.
What's fascinating here is how it's a brilliant corruption of a space we inherently trust.
Oh, totally.
We seek out these 24-hour retail environments for comfort, right? For convenience, especially in the dead of night when we feel most vulnerable.
Yeah, you just want the safety of the fluorescent lights.
Exactly. So to discover that the brightly lit convenience is actually a predatory trap, it's deeply unsettling on a primal level.
Which is exactly our mission for this deep dive. Okay, let's unpack this. We are unpacking the incredibly dark, local urban legend of Evergreen Market, the supermarket of forgotten regrets.
Such a great title.
It really is. We're going to examine the impossible items sitting on its shelves, decode the supposed rules for surviving a visit, and trace the really horrific journey of a journalist who actually tried to investigate it.
Sophie Bennett.
Yes, Sophie Bennett. We'll get into her whole chilling journey because, we all have regrets, right? We all have lost memories sitting just out of reach, and we all feel that sharp pang of nostalgia. But Evergreen Market literally puts a barcode on those intangibles.
And my goal today is to really dissect the mechanics of this legend. We need to look at the intersection of human memory, repressed trauma, and the sterile architecture of retail spaces.
That's a wild combination.
It really is. We need to understand exactly why a glowing supermarket in the fog is exponentially more terrifying than, a traditional haunted house in the woods.
I think it comes down to the eerie normalcy of it all. To really understand Evergreen Market, we have to start with its physical geography, or I guess its impossible geography.
Right, the location itself is a paradox.
Yeah, according to the city records in our source material, Evergreen Market does not exist. It officially closed down in 1998 after a massive, devastating fire, and the entire structure was totally demolished.
Just gone.
Completely. If you drive to that exact location today in the bright sunlight, you will find a completely modern, entirely mundane shopping mall.
So the daytime reality is documented, it's solid, and it's entirely unremarkable. You could go buy a pretzel there right now.
Exactly. But the legend relies on a fracture in reality that operates on a hyper-specific schedule.
This is where it gets so weird.
Right, because the anomaly only occurs at night, and not just sometime after midnight. The sources say it happens between exactly 2:47 a.m. and 3:3 a.m.
Just a 16-minute window.
Yeah, drivers who are on that specific stretch of the old highway during that exact 16-minute window report seeing the supermarket standing there in the fog, looking exactly as it did before the 1998 fire.
A full parking lot, the faded green sign.
But absolutely no one entering or leaving.
It's just waiting. And 16 minutes, it's such an incredibly tight window, which makes the phenomenon feel almost mechanical, like a glitch in the universe's rendering engine
Right.
rather than a traditional ghostly apparition.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and in folklore, 3 a.m. is universally recognized as the witching hour, the time when the veil between realities is supposedly at its thinnest.
Right, right.
Evergreen Market straddles that hour perfectly. It exists in a liminal space, and crucially, it targets drivers in a hypnagogic state.
Wait, a what state?
Hypnagogic. It's that fuzzy twilight consciousness between wakefulness and sleep.
Oh, like highway hypnosis.
Exactly.
Well, I have a theory about that. I think the mundane retail environment is actually the weapon here. Well, I remember walking through my dead hometown mall right before they tore it down. All the stores were closed, the music was still playing on the speakers, and the lighting was this harsh, artificial glow.
Oh, that is so creepy.
It felt incredibly hostile. It's like walking into a familiar room in your house, but every single piece of furniture has been shifted exactly 1 inch to the left.
Yes, the uncanny valley effect.
Exactly. Your brain screams that something is terribly wrong, but you can't immediately identify the threat because it all looks so normal.
That makes perfect sense. I mean, the architecture of a supermarket is already designed to be a psychological trap, even in the real world.
Really? Like on purpose?
Oh, absolutely. Retail psychologists engineer these spaces to induce a state of mild disorientation known as the Gruen effect.
The Gruen effect.
Yeah. Think about it. There are no windows. There are no clocks. You are guided through a maze-like structure of aisles. You're bombarded by overwhelming choices, and you're bathed in sensory deprivation.
You completely lose track of time.
Exactly. The design actively encourages you to surrender your critical thinking and just go on autopilot.
You just walk down the aisle, grab the familiar blue box of pasta, and keep moving. You aren't processing your surroundings. You're just executing a routine.
Exactly. Now transpose that effect onto a severely sleep-deprived driver who stumbles into this environment at 2:50 a.m.
Oh, man.
Their cognitive defenses are completely down. The supermarket doesn't need monsters. It uses the soothing, mindless comfort of consumer routine as bait.
And the person who supposedly first took that bait, the origin of this whole local urban legend,
Right.
was a long-haul truck driver named Frank Miller.
Right, the Frank Miller story, yeah.
The sources tell us Frank was driving his rig down the highway, his engine overheated right around 2:50 a.m., and he saw that faded green sign glowing through the mist.
Perfect timing for the store.
Right. The parking lot was full, the automatic doors were open. He thought it was just a regular 24-hour joint and walked in to buy a gallon of water for his radiator.
Just a completely mundane errand.
But the moment he started browsing the aisles, the illusion of normalcy completely shattered.
Because this is where the physical reality of the store bends to accommodate the psychological weight of its inventory.
Yeah. Let's talk about the mysterious items sold within the store aisles, because this is wild. Frank walks in seeking hydration, a basic human need, but he finds himself surrounded by the literal commodification of the human soul.
Which is such a striking image.
He walks down one aisle and sees a shelf entirely lined with glass jars. Normal enough at a glance. I mean, maybe it looks like jams or preserves.
Sure, like an aisle of Smuckers.
Exactly. But when he gets closer, he sees that every single jar is labeled with a specific person's name.
Just names.
Just names. And inside the jars, there are tiny photographs. Not just flat pictures, but tangible, three-dimensional childhood memories sealed under tin lids.
Wow.
Yeah. And then he turns down another aisle and finds a massive display of clocks. None of them are ticking. Every single clock is stopped, frozen at a completely different time, with a handwritten price tag attached that reads, "One forgotten promise."
If we connect this to the bigger picture, think about the implications of that inventory. In our normal lives, regrets, broken promises, and fading memories are completely abstract.
Right, they just exist in our heads.
Exactly. They are invisible psychological burdens we carry in our minds. What Evergreen Market does is drag those abstract traumas into the physical world.
It makes them tangible.
Yes, it makes them tangible. It puts your childhood in a mason jar. It slaps a barcode on a promise you broke to a friend 10 years ago. By making these intangibles physical, the market asserts absolute dominance over them.
But I'm trying to picture the exact mechanics of this. If I pick up a jar of a childhood memory, how is it actually commodified? Like, is it like nostalgic media today? How we consume retro reboots to literally buy back a piece of our past?
It is the ultimate extreme of that cultural tendency. We already try to purchase nostalgia through vintage clothes or, classic toys.
Right, buying an old Nintendo or something.
Exactly. The market simply removes the middleman. It doesn't sell you a toy that reminds you of your youth. It sells you the raw, distilled memory of the youth itself.
Which brings us to the beverage coolers. Frank desperately heads toward the refrigerators, just looking for water. But the coolers aren't filled with Aquafina.
No, they're not.
They are filled with small, cold glass bottles of rain. And the labels on these bottles are just devastating.
They really are.
One says, "The last storm you enjoyed with your father." Another reads, "The rain from your first kiss." And maybe the most heartbreaking one, it says, "The afternoon you decided to give up your dream."
It's a masterclass in psychological horror. I mean, to bottle an afternoon where a person surrendered their biggest aspiration, that is an incredibly quiet, internal turning point in the human life.
Yeah, nobody throws a parade when you give up.
Right. It's often a realization that happens while staring out a window on a rainy Tuesday. And the market has taken that pivotal, heartbreaking shift in a person's trajectory, distilled it down to its sensory essence, and refrigerated it for mass consumption.
But wait, why a glass bottle? Why not just a plastic water bottle or some kind of glowing orb?
Well, there's a practical reason for that in the lore.
It feels like an intentional design choice, which actually ties into one of the survival rules we found in the source material. So the legend has a very specific set of guidelines, and rule number 2 is never buy anything in a glass bottle.
Glass is inherently fragile, right? And it's volatile.
Yeah.
The items contained within those bottles are hyper-concentrated, volatile emotions.
Oh, I see.
So the rule isn't just a warning about the purchase itself. It's a warning about the physical danger of mishandling the product. To drop a glass bottle containing the day you gave up your dream would be catastrophic.
Like a bomb going off.
Exactly. You would release that raw, unmitigated emotional energy directly into the physical space.
And that is exactly what Frank does. He gets so spooked by reading a label that he drops the bottle. The glass shatters on the linoleum.
The worst thing he could do.
Yeah. And the lone cashier behind the register calmly looks up and says, "Careful. Those can't be replaced."
Such a chilling line.
Frank is terrified, obviously. He asks what kind of store this is, what exactly they are selling, and the cashier gives this incredibly dark answer. He says, "We sell things people lose. Things they haven't realized they've already lost."
That philosophy is staggering. Things they haven't realized they've already lost.
It's so bleak.
It implies that our memories, our passions, the core pillars of our humanity, they slip away from us so gradually, so silently, that we don't even know they're gone until we see them sitting on a fluorescent lit shelf with a price tag attached.
And the market demands payment for pointing that out.
It sure does.
The sources are very clear on the economy of Evergreen Market. Money is never accepted. You cannot swipe a card. Payment is extracted directly from your identity.
The supernatural economy.
Right. So after the cashier's warning, Frank sprints out the automatic doors, back into the fog. But when he gets outside, his massive 18-wheeler truck is completely gone.
Vanish.
In its place, sitting in the middle of the empty parking lot, is a single shopping cart. And inside that cart is his wedding ring. He looks down at his left hand, and his finger is bare. And he has absolutely no memory of taking it off.
The market extracted its toll by surgically removing a foundational piece of his life.
It's so precise.
Yes. Frank lost his truck, his livelihood, sure. But the deeper theft is the memory of removing the ring. By taking that memory and placing the ring in a shopping cart, the market effectively severed his psychological connection to his marriage.
It just deleted it.
The punishment for interacting with the store is the deletion of who you are.
And Frank is just one example. The sources detail other victims. A woman bought a photograph from the store, and the next morning, she could no longer remember her own mother's face.
Devastating.
A businessman purchased a gold watch, and he woke up entirely unable to remember his own daughter's name. And then there's the teenager who went in and shoplifted a cassette tape.
Ah, the shoplifter.
Yeah, he didn't even buy it. He stole it. And his payment was permanently losing the ability to hear the sound of laughter.
Such a specific and cruel punishment.
But let me push back on that for a second. If the teenager stole the tape, why did he have to pay it all? Doesn't theft bypass the retail economy entirely?
Well, not in a supernatural economy. The market doesn't operate on human laws of commerce. It operates on a cosmic ledger.
A cosmic ledger, I like that.
If an item leaves the premises in your possession, the universe instantly balances the books by extracting an equivalent emotional value from your mind. You cannot outsmart it. And consider the specific horror of his payment. losing the sound of laughter. Imagine walking through the rest of your life where every expression of joy around you is rendered utterly silent.
It would drive you insane.
It forces you into a state of permanent psychological isolation. You are cut off from human connection.
I keep thinking of the market as a reverse pawn shop.
Okay, how so?
Well, in a normal pawn shop, you go in desperate, you hand over something deeply meaningful like a family heirloom or a wedding ring, and in exchange, the shop gives you cold, meaningless cash just to survive.
Right.
Evergreen Market flips that entirely. It takes the invisible, foundational pieces of your humanity, and in exchange, it hands you a meaningless, physical trinket of your past.
I would actually argue it's worse than a reverse pawn shop.
Really? Why?
A pawn shop implies that you chose to walk in and make a transaction, however desperate you were. You agreed to it.
That's true.
Evergreen Market is predatory lending disguised as convenience. It traps people who don't even know they are entering a negotiation.
Which is exactly why the survival guide exists. As stories like Frank's spread through trucker forums and local lore, a set of 7 strict rules emerged for navigating the market. And we need to outline practical survival advice for a reader encountering the market at night.
Absolutely. The rules are crucial.
We've already covered Rule 2 about the glass bottles.
Sure.
Let's analyze the other rules for surviving the supernatural market, because I want to see if we can decode the logic behind them. Let's take Rule 7. Never check your receipt before sunrise.
That's a very common folklore trope.
Right. Frank ran out without a receipt, but if you do make it out with one, why must you wait for the sun to come up?
This plays heavily into the dichotomy of night and day in folklore. The night, particularly the witching hour, is the domain where the supernatural holds jurisdiction.
So the store owns the night.
Exactly. Sunrise represents the return of mundane reality and logic. Checking the receipt in the dark cements the transaction in the supernatural realm. By reading it, you are actively acknowledging and accepting the horrific terms of the trade.
But the daylight breaks the spell.
That's the idea. The daylight might offer a protective anchor. In the sun, the mundane magic of reality might sever the contract, rendering the receipt blank. The dark empowers the transaction, but the light neutralizes it.
That actually makes sense. Okay, what about Rule 6? If you hear the checkout bell ring twice, abandon your cart. A single ring is just normal store background noise, right?
Exactly. A single ring is ambient retail noise. You hear it at any Target or Walmart. But the double ring is a deliberate, targeted signal.
It's for you.
Yes. It is an announcement that the invisible ledger has just been updated and a price is about to be demanded from you specifically. Abandoning the cart is a desperate attempt to sever your physical connection to the store's inventory before the spiritual cost is finalized in your mind.
You just have to run.
Drop it and run.
Okay, I want to float a theory on Rule 4 because this is the one that really gets under my skin.
Oh, the freezer section.
Yeah, never look into the freezer section. In a normal grocery store, freezers are for things that spoil rapidly. Meat, dairy, things that rot.
Right.
So if aisle 9 is selling regrets and the coolers have melancholic, rainy memories, does that mean the freezers hold traumas so toxic or volatile that they would literally rot the human mind if they thawed out?
That is a brilliant theory. The terrifying implication of that is that the freezer section contains the things our brains have forcefully repressed for our own survival.
Like the really bad stuff.
We're talking about memories of profound violence, unadulterated terror, or deep betrayal that the human psyche has walled off in sub-zero containment to prevent total insanity.
Wow.
So to look into the freezer isn't just to see a bad memory, it is to expose yourself to a truth that would instantly and permanently shatter your reality. The market freezes them because even the store's supernatural environment can't contain their volatility at room temperature.
Wow. Okay. Stay away from the frozen foods. Just absolutely do not go there.
Good life advice generally, but especially here.
Yeah, for sure. There's also Rule 3. Never ask where the products come from. I imagine that ties back to the cashier's cryptic nature.
Precisely. If you demand logistical answers from a supernatural entity, you are challenging its authority over the space.
It's an act of defiance.
Exactly. The market relies on obfuscation. To demand to see the supply chain of your own misery is to draw the direct, unfiltered attention of whatever cosmic force is stocking those shelves. And you do not want management's attention.
Never ask for the manager.
Definitely not.
Which brings us to the tragic core of this deep dive. If the market targets exhausted, mindless drivers on autopilot, what happens when someone drives into that fog on purpose, actively hunting for answers?
That is when the trap changes shape.
Exactly. And that brings us to trace Sophie Bennett's chilling journey. Sophie was an investigative journalist who specialized in abandoned architecture and local folklore.
She knew what she was doing.
Or she thought she did.
Hmm.
She read the trucker stories, she memorized the 7 rules we just talked about, and she drove out to the old highway looking for the anomaly.
Sophie represents the rational, empirical mind attempting to dissect the irrational.
Right, she's got her notepad, her camera.
She relies on facts and concrete evidence. But the market does not yield to the scientific method.
It really doesn't. She hits the fog at 2:50 a.m., and the neon green sign bleeds through the mist. But her experience is fundamentally different from Frank's right from the very start.
How so?
Well, she parks, walks up to the building, and the very first violation happens before she even crosses the threshold. The automatic doors slide open long before she reaches them.
Oh, wow.
They are actively welcoming her.
The market recognizes her intent. She isn't just a thirsty wanderer like Frank. She is a seeker.
She came looking for it.
The store senses her purpose and rolls out the red carpet, which sets a much more predatory tone than Frank's accidental visit. It knows she's there to investigate.
And the second she steps inside, the sensory assault begins. The sources note that the store didn't smell like sterile floor cleaner or stale air like a normal store.
What did it smell like?
It smelled exactly, flawlessly like her childhood home.
Oh, that is so manipulative.
I mean, think about the olfactory power of that. The smell of your grandmother's kitchen or the specific wood smoke of your childhood living room hitting you in the middle of a fluorescent-lit grocery store.
It is a devastating tactic. In human biology, scent is the sense most directly wired to the hippocampus and the amygdala.
Which do what, exactly?
Those are the brain centers for memory and emotion. By weaponizing the exact smell of her childhood home, the market completely bypasses her rational journalistic defenses.
It goes straight for the heart.
It strikes directly at her emotional core, yes. For Frank, the store presented a mirage of water because he was thirsty. For Sophie, it weaponizes safety and nostalgia.
And while she is standing there, completely disoriented by the smell of her past, an employee wearing a standard green vest walks right up to her, smiles warmly, and says, "We've been expecting you."
No, that is horrifying.
Which is a massive violation of the spirit of rule number 5. If an employee greets you by name, leave immediately. They didn't explicitly use her name, but it carries the exact same terrifying weight.
It shatters the anonymity of the retail experience.
Right. You don't want the greeter to know you.
In a normal store, you are just a barcode scanner to the employees. They don't care who you are. The fact that the entity running this market says, "We've been expecting you," means they have pulled her file.
They know exactly who she is.
They have a dossier on her traumas. She's a targeted consumer, and the trap is already springing closed around her.
But Sophie is smart. She knows the rules. She actively refuses a shopping cart, trying to adhere to rule number 1, which is never enter with an empty shopping cart.
She's trying to outplay the store.
Exactly. She figures if she doesn't take a cart, she can't be forced into a transaction. But the employee just keeps smiling and quietly, insistently forces a shopping cart into her hands anyway.
Wow. They just made her take...
And she looks down. The cart is not empty. Sitting inside the wire basket is a faded, worn-out teddy bear.
Oh, no.
It is her teddy bear, the exact one she lost when she was 6 years old.
That is just... it's evil.
But now wait a second. She didn't technically walk in with an empty cart. The store shoved it at her. Isn't that the market cheating its own rules?
Well, the market does not play fair.
Yeah.
And rules are only illusions of control for the victims.
So the rules don't matter.
Once she crossed the threshold, she was bound by the store's physics.
Huh.
By placing the bear in her hands, the store forcibly bypassed her consent. It's a hyper-aggressive sales tactic.
Like those kiosk people at the mall.
Yes. If a salesperson puts a product physically in your hands, the psychological pressure to assume ownership of it skyrockets. The market used a physical object as a skeleton key to pry open a door in her mind that had been nailed shut for decades.
Because holding that bear triggers a massive flood of repressed memories for her. She suddenly remembers a very specific birthday party from her childhood.
It all comes rushing back.
She remembers holding that exact bear and crying hysterically. But the absolute horror of the moment is that she realizes she wasn't crying because she lost the bear.
Why was she crying?
She was crying because someone disappeared that day. Someone she had completely, entirely forgotten she ever had. Her older brother.
Oh, my God.
Let me ask you something, because this breaks my brain. Did she actually have a brother who went missing, and the trauma caused her brain to repress the memory to protect her? Or is the market planting false memories to create a void of grief that it can then fill and charge her for?
This raises an important question, doesn't it? Both possibilities are equally horrifying. Let's explore them.
Okay.
If it's natural repression, it means the store is a cosmic repository for every lost thing, hoarding her childhood trauma for decades, just waiting for the moment to resell it to her.
It implies the universe catalogs are pain for profit.
Exactly. But if we look at your second theory, that the store planted the memory, that elevates the market from a supernatural pawn shop to a malicious, reality-altering parasite.
Just invents a tragedy.
If it fabricated a brother just to harvest the synthetic grief it generated in her, then nothing about our past is safe. Our own histories are just clay for the market to mold into whatever trauma yields the highest emotional currency.
She is standing in the aisle, completely shattered by the realization that she had a brother who vanished, and she had spent her entire adult life not knowing.
Just completely undone.
And right at the peak of her devastation, the store's intercom crackles to life.
Perfect timing, as always.
A calm, automated voice echoes through the fluorescent lights, and it says, "Attention shoppers, aisle 9 is now accepting regrets."
The bureaucratic banality of that announcement, contrasting with her profound emotional devastation, is so dark.
It's so casual.
It treats the processing of human trauma like a routine cleanup on aisle 3.
Sophie, being a journalist to her core, follows the other silent customers toward the back of the store. And she finds aisle 9. But it isn't a grocery aisle.
What is it?
There are no shelves. There are no products. Aisle 9 is just a long, seemingly endless corridor of freestanding doors. Hundreds of them.
Just doors.
Just doors. And each door is labeled with a year. She sees 1998, she sees 2007, 2014. And then she looks further down the aisle and sees doors labeled with years that haven't happened yet.
Wait, future years.
Yeah. She sees a door for 2031, she sees a door labeled tomorrow, and she sees a door labeled with her own upcoming birthday.
That completely changes everything. Aisle 9 represents temporal gateways. It reveals that the supermarket is not just a graveyard of the past. It is a warehouse of the future.
It has inventory that hasn't even happened.
The inclusion of 2031 and tomorrow introduces the concept of temporal determinism. It implies that the store deals in future regrets, mistakes you haven't even made yet, heartbreaks that are currently waiting for you down the timeline.
They are already on the shelf.
They are already packaged, priced, and waiting behind a door. It suggests that our future pain is completely inevitable and preordained by the universe's ledger.
It's like being trapped in an elevator that is entirely paneled with your worst life choices. You can push the button and get off at any floor, any year, but you know with absolute crushing certainty that you are only going to find pain on the other side of the doors.
You can't win.
You look at the door for tomorrow and you realize you are already scheduled to fail. You can't change it. It's already in the store's inventory.
And that realization induces total paralysis. She is standing in an aisle of infinite, guaranteed sorrow, holding a teddy bear that represents a sibling she didn't even know she lost.
She is completely overwhelmed.
Her psychological defenses are entirely destroyed. She is perfectly positioned for the cashier to close the deal.
We have to analyze the dark narrative arc from discovery to the final tragic payment. So the cashier appears right behind her, and he says in that polite, completely unbothered retail drone, returns are on the left, exchanges are on the right.
He's just doing his job.
Sophie is panicking. She asks him, "What happens if I leave?" The cashier looks almost disappointed in her and says, "You already bought something."
The trap snaps shut.
Sophie argues back, "I didn't pay. I haven't given you any money. I haven't agreed to anything." And the cashier smiles this terrible knowing smile and says, "You smiled when you found the teddy bear. That was enough."
This is the crux of the horror. The transaction mechanic. The payment wasn't money, it wasn't a barter, it wasn't a signed contract. The currency of Evergreen Market is pure involuntary emotion.
Just a smile.
The mere act of feeling joy, that fleeting, instinctive smile of a woman recognizing a lost toy from her childhood, constituted a binding supernatural contract. The market weaponizes your own positive human instincts against you.
It is the ultimate inescapable trap. You literally cannot help but smile when you see a piece of your childhood safety. And the millisecond you do, the invisible ledger rings up the sale.
It's an instant transaction.
And the erasure begins immediately. The sources describe it as a terrifying, cascading deletion of her mind. The moment the cashier says, "That was enough," Sophie immediately forgets her brother's face.
It just vanishes.
The image of him just vanishes from her mind's eye. A second later, she forgets his name, it evaporates from her tongue, and finally, she forgets why she was even crying in the first place. The profound, crushing grief is just gone.
Let's analyze the true malevolence of what just happened. The store didn't kidnap her brother. The real world, the mundane world, took her brother years ago. What the store stole was her grief over him.
It stole the sadness itself.
In human psychology, grief is the enduring tether we have to the people we have lost. To grieve someone is to honor their existence. It is the proof that they mattered.
Right. Grief is love persevering.
Exactly. So by taking her memory, her tears, and her pain, the store effectively erased him from her internal reality entirely. It didn't just steal a memory. It assassinated his ghost. It severed the tether and left her completely empty.
Let's explain the price of her childhood here. She looks down into her shopping cart. The faded teddy bear, the physical anchor to her past, has vanished.
It was just a prop.
Right. And sitting in its place in the wire basket is a small white paper receipt. The ink is freshly printed, and the total reads, "One childhood paid in full."
Paid in full. It signifies the absolute finality of the transaction. The market has extracted the entirety of her formative years, the context of her family trauma, and the emotional weight of her existence.
Everything that made her who she is.
She leaves the store with her biological life technically intact, but the foundation of her identity has been repossessed.
Sophie runs. She flees the supermarket, running blindly back into the fog, back to her car. She manages to drive away.
She makes it out.
Barely.
Yeah.
The next day, she contacts the police. She gives them the exact coordinates on the old highway. The police go out to search the location in the daylight. And exactly as the legend dictates, they find absolutely nothing.
Of course not.
There is no supermarket. There is no faded green sign. There is no empty parking lot. There is only the busy, everyday shopping mall full of teenagers and department stores standing exactly where it has stood since the fire in 1998.
The daytime reality reasserts itself. The anomaly has closed, and the police find nothing but concrete and commerce.
But Sophie is a journalist. She has her notes. She has the terrifying experience burned into her mind. Well, the parts of it she's allowed to remember anyway.
Right, she lost a big chunk.
Months later, she writes up the entire investigation and publishes it. The article goes viral. Readers absolutely love the story. The comment section is full of people calling it a masterpiece of modern horror, a brilliant piece of fiction.
Because to the rational world, it must be fiction.
Exactly. But this is where the story shifts from a pocket dimension to something much worse. Every single physical and digital copy of the published article is missing exactly one paragraph. The specific paragraph where Sophie described the sudden memory of her brother. The editor of the magazine swears that paragraph never existed. The webmaster checks the source code, and there is absolutely no trace of it.
This completely shifts the paradigm of the legend. The store's magic is not confined to its physical walls or its 16-minute window. It acts like a retroactive virus in the real world.
Exactly. It's not just that the text was deleted, it's that the fabric of reality reorganized itself to ensure the text never was.
The transaction receipt read, "One childhood paid in full." To maintain the integrity of that supernatural contract, the market must delete any evidence that contradicts it, even outside its own walls.
It edits reality.
It reaches into the real world, into printing presses, human memories, and computer servers to delete the memory of the brother from reality itself. It proves that Evergreen Market is not just a haunted house you can drive away from. It is an entity that actively edits the universe to protect its bottom line.
And it is a trap that never, ever stops working. The sources evaluate the cyclical nature of the store appearing on roads. This isn't a one-time event that vanished after Sophie Bennett's article. Even years later, drivers still report seeing it.
It's still out there.
The old highway still gets foggy. The hour of 2:50 a.m. still rolls around every single night. Tired, vulnerable drivers still see the neon green sign bleeding through the mist. They still see the perfectly aligned carts. They still see the automatic doors waiting to slide open.
It is a perpetual machine, feeding off a never-ending loop of exhausted people. The supply of human regret is limitless, and therefore, the market's inventory will never run out.
Which brings us to the most ominous detail in the entire deep dive. Recently, local drivers have reported a change.
A change in the story.
Yeah. Beneath the main glowing green open 24-hour sign, a new, smaller message has appeared. A handwritten sign flapping slightly in the foggy wind, and the sign reads, "Everything must go."
Oh, that is not good.
So what does this all mean? If everything must go implies a massive clearance sale, what happens when a supernatural market gets desperate to offload its inventory?
Well, in retail, a clearance sale means liquidating stock at any cost. It means flooding the market and slashing prices just to get the items out the door.
Getting rid of it all.
If Evergreen Market is initiating a clearance event, it implies that the rules of engagement are about to drastically change. Perhaps it won't wait for tired drivers to pull over anymore.
It's going to come to us.
Perhaps it will actively begin pushing its inventory of bottled rain, stopped clocks, and future regrets out into the world, force-feeding trauma to the surrounding population to clear its shelves.
Oh, a liquidation of human sorrow. We've covered a massive amount of ground here today. We started with Frank Miller, a trucker who just wanted water and ended up losing his marriage to a cashier who deals in the currency of lost things.
And we walked the impossible aisles.
We did. Looking at the literal commodification of memory, we decoded the survival rules, why you never take an empty cart, why glass bottles are volatile, and why the freezer section might hold the most terrifying traumas of the human psyche.
Such a deep dive.
And we followed the tragic path of Sophie Bennett, who smiled at a teddy bear and paid for it with the total erasure of her brother's memory, proving that Evergreen Market doesn't just steal your past, it actively rewrites your reality.
This legend is a profound exploration of nostalgia as a weapon and memory as a currency. It taps into our deepest anxieties that the things we cherish most, our memories, our identities, our connections to the people we love, are incredibly fragile, capable of being stolen or bartered away in a single moment of vulnerability.
It really makes you look at your own regrets a little differently, doesn't it? I want you, the listener, to remember this deep dive the next time you are driving late at night.
Be careful out there.
The next time you are on a dark, two-lane highway, the fog rolls in and you see a glowing convenience store sign piercing through the mist. You might want to lock your doors, keep your foot on the gas, and just keep driving. Because some things are truly better left lost.
Keep driving.
But I want to leave you with one final lingering thought. We talked about that new sign, everything must go. If the legend is true, if the store stocks things you will miss after you pay for them, and it currently has a sign up declaring a total liquidation, is the store actively preparing to strip the surrounding town of its memories entirely?
That's the real question.
What happens to a city, to an entire community of people, when the local ghost supermarket completely liquidates its stock of future regrets, dumping decades of preordained pain and forgotten traumas directly into the streets all at once?